Okay, everybody. It is Monday evening. Glad you could be with us. I'm Shon Gables. It is Monday, September 30th, the last day of September. And boy, have we had quite the month. It's been a lot going on in our newsroom, and I know times are tough for a lot of folks right now, but we're going to get through this together. We've been very busy in our Atlanta News First Plus studio. There is some breaking news that just came into our newsroom. This involves Major League Baseball superstar Pete Rose. He was Major League Baseball's all-time hits leader. He was the manager for the Cincinnati Reds. He also played for the Cincinnati Reds, also for the Phillies and the Montreal Expos. A scandal way back cost him a lifetime ban because of gambling. We have just learned that Pete Rose has died. He was 83 years old. It's a story that our newsroom is going to continue to follow. We'll have more updates on our website at Atlanta News First Plus. Also, we'll have it on our sportscast also tonight on Atlanta News First at 11, on Peachtree TV at 10, and WPGA Macon. It's not a slow day in our newsroom, and one of the big stories that we are following right now involves this right here. Our team of reporters, they are spanned across Georgia tonight. Our coverage continues on the breaking news coming out of Conyers tonight. There is a shelter-in-place in order that remains in effect after a chemical fire in Rockdale County, but the impacts are spreading far to neighboring counties, even as far as Atlanta. People are complaining about the smell of odor, reports of hazy skies. Atlanta News First, Yasmina Alston has more from Atlanta's Kirkwood neighborhood.
It smells like chlorine. Is that from the Rockdale County fire?
The sky looked gray and smoky for some Gwinnett County residents on Monday morning. It was unusual for people like Darcy in Duluth, but it was the smell that hit her when she stepped outside that caused concern.
I was only out there for 30 seconds. It burned my eyes, it burned my nose, I got an instant headache, and all of a sudden I couldn't breathe.
Officials say the hazing chemical smell was pushed into nearby areas like Gwinnett County as a result of the chemical plant fire at BioLab in Rockdale County on Sunday.
I was panicking because I smelled chlorine, and I knew about the Rockdale County explosion or whatever, the fire.
Several of the neighboring areas conducted air quality tests, including Gwinnett County, DeKalb County, and the city of Atlanta. As of Monday afternoon, there were no advisories or immediate life safety issues in those areas.
I noticed it started to get haze, like it was rolling in like fog, and I stepped outside and it just immediately smelled like chlorine, like I stepped in a chemical room of a pool.
Meanwhile, Ashley Neal, who lives in the Atlanta neighborhood of Kirkwood, had similar experiences as those in Gwinnett County. Her neighbors even put out masks for others to use who were concerned about the air.
Immediately went, is this toxic? Like, what's going on? Because I knew that they were in a shelter-in-place advisory. So I was kind of concerned. I was like, what, like, is this bad for us? I was also really concerned for my son, his school. Like, I knew he was going to be out in the playground in 30 minutes, and we had just no understanding of what the situation was.
And this just into our Atlanta News First newsroom. Just within the last minute or so, we have just learned that the shelter in place for Rockland County has been lifted. We're going to have more on that story again, as I mentioned, on Atlanta News First tonight at 11 and also on Peachtree TV tonight at 10. A big story that broke earlier this afternoon. Let's take a look at that one. And this one involves Georgia's abortion ruling. Georgia's six-week abortion ban struck down by a Fulton County judge today. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Robert McBurney issued that order today, saying the Living Infants Fairness and Equality Act, or LIFE Act, was unconstitutional. The ruling concluded a 6-week ban was inconsistent with a woman's liberty and privacy. Georgia, according to this new ruling, must now return to the 2019 law, which allows abortions up to 22 weeks. Our Carly Barnett is working on that story. She'll have more on that tonight at 11. We are 35 days away until in fact, let me just get to this before we look at this poll. I want to show you this. We are 35 days away until we pick our next president for the United States. Former President Donald Trump visited Valdosta today. He toured Helene damage and delivered supplies, but this is happening as the vice presidential candidates get ready for their first and only debate. Senator J.D. Vance faces Governor Tim Walz tomorrow at 9. The debate is moderated by CBS News. Carolyn Cumming has more.
Senator J.D. Vance arrived in New York City Monday ahead of Tuesday's debate. The Republican VP nominee has been prepping with Trump's senior advisor Jason Miller and had a recent mock debate. Minnesota Congressman Tom Emmer stood in for Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
We don't know just how unpopular he is in Minnesota.
Walz's last public appearance was Sunday at a farm in the battleground state of Michigan. The campaign for the Democratic VP nominee tells CBS News Walz is getting help from some of the same people who helped Vice President Harris take on former President Trump in their debate last month.
I can't wait to debate the guy.
New CBS News polling finds 65% of Democrats are enthusiastic about Walz as the VP candidate compared to 49% of Republicans who were enthusiastic about Vance. Both men are from the Midwest, but author Kate Anderson Brower, who wrote the book First in Line on the vice presidency, says don't expect Midwestern nice.
So I think it could get pretty ugly. And I think people are going to be interested in watching for that reason.
CBS Evening News anchor Nora O'Donnell and Face the Nation host Margaret Brennan will moderate but won't interrupt the debate to fact check. CBS News says that will largely be up to the nominees.
But CBS News audiences will have access to real-time fact-checking during the debate. On screen, there will be a QR code that they can scan with their phone, and it will send them directly to fact-checking on the CBS News website.
Unlike the presidential debates, both campaigns have agreed that microphones will remain on throughout the event, all of it giving voters a chance to see how the man next in line for the Oval Office will govern. Caroline Cummings, CBS News, New York.
And again, you can watch that debate tomorrow night right here on Atlanta News First at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also take a look at this. If you're looking at your monitor, a CBS poll tried to break down who is going to watch tomorrow's debate and why they plan to watch. 87% of the voters surveyed said they are watching to learn something new about the candidates. 24% say it will help them decide who they want to vote for. The clock is ticking, though. If you're looking to vote this election, just a quick reminder here, these are key dates to know. In Georgia, next Monday is the last day to register to vote. October 15th is the start of early voting. October 25th is the absentee ballot deadline. And Election Day for everybody is November 5th. Okay, let's take a nice, beautiful look at what's happening outside. It's drier now, but depending on where you live, determined if you got rain or not. I didn't get any sprinkles, but I got a whole lot of humidity. Patrick Pete, Atlanta News First meteorologist, I tell you, you've been bullseye, buddy, right on target. Atlanta's most accurate forecast. Our weather team does not play around. I'm going to try to get you set up here, Patrick, as you get prepared to take over. But you did a fantastic job during our coverage with Helene.
Well, you know, it's a team. It's a whole team of 7 of us.
Well, you guys did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
And I don't envy the work that you have to do, but I will say this is much nicer. Lots of sunshine on the way for the rest of the work week. I think for the folks who have to clean up storm damage, and it's a lot of folks that need to either dry out or clean up, they're going to need this forecast that you're about to give us.
Oh, yes, the forecast definitely on the improve as we head through the next couple of days. I want to take a minute to just look at our beautiful city. It is gorgeous out there across the area. Of course, the sun has set, but it really is a beautiful sight to see. Going to get these graphics together, and looks like they are, so we are ready to rock and roll. Good evening, everybody. Happy Monday. We have made it to the beginning of a new week, and thankfully this forecast is a whole lot better than last week's. So let's dive into it quickly. We are tracking temperatures that are very comfortable out there. If you stepped outside, maybe you have dinner plans or you're heading out to go to the gym, I think it's a pretty nice night. We're at 73 degrees here in Atlanta. Most locations are in the low 70s, but we've already dipped into the 60s out in Carroll County. Same for folks out in Ellijay and Helen. The numbers don't change a whole lot as we head through the overnight hours, but this is a good opportunity to remind you, if you don't have our First Alert Weather app, not only do you get these hour-by-hour breakdowns of the forecast, but you actually have access to First Alert Radar and First Alert Futurecast, so you can actually see what the radar is going to look like tomorrow, so to speak, if you were looking to see if you were going to get a spotty shower or two. The rain chance is near 10% tomorrow, so I think we're all fine, but just for future reference, that is there in case you need it. Here's a look at the overnight lows for the metro, and I expect us to fall into the low to mid-60s, so a pretty comfortable evening. Good evening, Alex in East Point. Thank you for joining the stream. Alex is a frequent viewer. We appreciate you coming in the chat and showing us some love here on the YouTube. YouTube, not the YouTube. Acting like my pops. Here's a look at our rain chances as we head through the next couple of days. And we are pretty dry, which is going to be nice. There is that upper level low that is to the north of us that brought all the clouds today. It's gradually going to get shifted to the east, and as it does, that's going to allow for more beautiful skies here. Low rain chances through the week. We're really watching Friday for the best chance of getting a little bit of rain. So that means that as that low migrates to the east tomorrow, we should gradually see more sunshine, especially the second half of the day. I expect it to be quite nice. Temperatures are going to be amazing. We spend the morning in the upper 60s. We get into the mid to upper 70s for the early afternoon, and most of us are going to top out somewhere near 80, 81 degrees. So a pretty solid Tuesday. Wednesday looks equally as nice, low to mid 60s for the morning. I think we warm up a degree or two because we see a little bit more sunshine Wednesday. So most of us get into the low 80s. Some folks even get close to 84, 85 before we trend cooler through the overnight hours. The 7-day forecast for October, because tomorrow is October 1st. This is pretty much on par. 80 degrees is the average morning high. 61, I believe, is the actual average morning low. So I think we're pretty much on par, maybe a degree or two warmer in the afternoon and the evenings. All in all, I think this is probably a solid stretch of weather. We'll watch Friday. Right now, we have a boundary that's going to slide through. That's going to be the best chance of getting some rain. Other than that, dipping into the upper 70s for highs next Monday. So if you were looking for the fall feel, you've been looking forward to maybe putting on the hoodie, green light early next week. We're continuing to monitor the tropics because we are still actively in hurricane season. Tropical Depression Joyce is spinning, but it's likely to no longer be a tropical system by this time tomorrow. We do have post-tropical Isaac, which has lifted off to the north and east. It's actually out of the screen. The National Hurricane Center no longer putting out any more updates on that system because it's off to the north and east. And then we're watching Tropical Storm Kirk down there. Kirk is the one that is the most interesting. Kirk has intensified this afternoon and evening. Winds now sustained at 60 miles per hour. It's still moving to the west at 12. And the forecast is for this to continue to gain momentum. You're dealing with the wide open Atlantic, open waters, not a whole lot of shear, and you got a lot of warmth here. So we fully expect this to become a major hurricane sometime Thursday, if not Thursday early morning, Thursday afternoon. Winds should get up to about 125 miles per hour, and Kirk should continue to remain a maritime issue. So no concerns. I know a lot of folks are going on cruises and stuff right now. Right now, it does appear that Kirk will trend to the north of the island. So if you have any plans by the weekend heading to the Leeward, Windward Islands, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, this system will steer north of that, which is great news. There is a disturbance to the southeast of it, and there's an area of low pressure. It is starting to develop. It's starting to get its mojo. Guidance is hinting that it will likely become a tropical depression over the course of the next couple of days. Over the course of the next week, you got a 90% chance of getting some development. So that's a system that we'll have to watch, but it's just off the coast of Africa. So still several days away from even being close to the States. We are watching, however, an area of low pressure that is potentially developing in the northern Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. And the models have been going back and forth. There's a whole lot of divergence on how this low gets resolved, but there's at least a low-end chance, or actually a medium chance, a 40% chance that we could be getting a depression out of this over the course of the next week. Once again, this is going to be in that day 5, 6, 7 range, so still nothing that is imminent. But this is something that obviously we're watching, and our whole goal with our First Alert brand is to tell you what we see when we see it, and to communicate that to you in the tone that it needs to be. And for now, this is just the potential for a low to develop in the Caribbean or the Gulf. Other than that, y'all, it's actually not a bad stretch of weather. We could use a little bit of a treat after everything that we have been through, and just to dive into that a little bit, we're fairly fortunate in North Georgia. Our neighbors to the south of us in Wheeler County, there were a couple of fatalities there. There was a lot of fatalities in South Georgia, Middle Georgia, and of course, the things that folks in South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia are dealing with, and we're honestly just starting to see the gravity of that. I don't know if you're a praying person. I am. So if you are, pray with me. If you're a chanting person, whatever your vice is, there are, at this point, I believe, 600 people that they are still looking for, that are unaccounted for. So our thoughts and our prayers are obviously with those folks, their families, and hopefully that those people can be reunited. But at the same time, we know that there was also over 100 people who unfortunately lost their lives in this, and praying for those folks and their families as well. And as much as we've been through with our system, those folks, they are still going through it. And while I think that our processes, they're going to be they're going to be pretty quick in comparison. We most of us have our power back on, and the folks that don't, this will be within the next week or so. Unfortunately, a lot of people will be dealing with this for months to come. So, had this system been the center have been 45, 50 miles to the west, our story would be different for sure. So, definitely, those people are in front of mind for me, and I hope they are with you too. I'm going to put my digital producer on the spot, if he's listening to me, because I do know that we have, actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put it on my Facebook page. Look at my Facebook page in a little bit, because I'm going to find it, because I don't want to put him on the spot, because I did that to him last week. But, I'm going to leave you guys with the 7-day forecast, and if you can, there are a lot of organizations that are actually taking donations to help a lot of these families who, honestly, their deeds are, people are still in the process of being rescued. I was reading an article today where a gentleman hiked 11 miles to make sure his parents were okay, and thankfully they were. And they were an elderly couple; they were in their 70s. But there are people that are still actively going through this process. I don't know if you've ever been. I've been into Banner Elk. I've been into Boone, North Carolina. I've been into Asheville. I've been into all these places, and a lot of these places are. I mean, that area of the country is just gorgeous. But a lot of these places are remote, especially when you start to get into those mountains. A lot of people actually live there. There are cabins there that people live and rent, but there are people that live there year round, and it's really hard to get to. The terrain there is just, even the I-40 part of it's just getting off of the interstate and going into some of these places, it's very hard to get to sometimes just on a regular day. You're going up hills and, and I don't know if you've ever driven down this stretch of road, but sometimes stuff falls in the road just on a regular day. So just imagine mud and water and moving things. People are still in the process of being reconnected, and that, for me, that's front of mind. So I don't mean to ramble. Sorry, it's just a little heavy on my heart tonight, but we're here for you. We're going to leave you with the 7-day forecast, which, if you missed it, because I know a lot of you guys just joined the stream, things look pretty good for us. The Cliff Notes version of that is pretty much that weather's quiet here at home, low end rain chance Friday. We're going to be watching the tropics. There are several systems out there. There are two named storms. One of them is going to not be a storm probably by tomorrow. The other one is going to just be a maritime issue, so no worries there. A week down the line, we could have a system, we could have an area of low pressure in the Gulf of Mexico. Only a 40% chance of developing over the course of the next week, but something we'll watch. You guys have a fantastic evening, and of course we'll have the latest news and weather on Peachtree TV at 10 and Atlanta News First at 11. Y'all have a good evening.